All right, welcome back. We're going to finish up 5.3 in the chapter today, and we're going to pick it up where we left off with tree diagrams and conditional probability. Now, a tree diagram shows the sample space of a chance process involving multiple stages. Now, the probability of each outcome is shown on the corresponding branch of the tree. Now, all probabilities after the first stage are conditional probabilities, is what we're going to talk about there. So, conditional probabilities. All right, so as we go here, tree diagram displaying the sample space of randomly choosing a school day and noting if Shannon hits the snooze button or not, and whether she gets to her first class on time. So as we can kind of see here, well, on a given day, 60% chance that she hits the snooze, 40% she doesn't. And then going through the conditional is that we hit the snooze here. And then if we hit the snooze, there's a 70% chance we're on time, 30% late. If she doesn't hit the snooze button, then it's 90% on time and 10% late. So obviously not hitting the snooze, better chance of getting there on time with that. But the tree diagram kind of shows all that works from there. And again, you can see all the probabilities adding up to 1 at each of those branches there. All right, so let's talk about this problem. Recently, Harris Interactive reported that 20% of millennials, 25% of Gen Xers, and 21% of baby boomers, and 17% of matures 68 and older read more ebooks than print books, according to the U.S. Census Bureau. 34% of those 18 and over are millennials, 20% are Gen Xers, 30% are baby boomers, and 14% are matures. Suppose we select one U.S. adult at random and record which generation the person is from and whether she or he reads more ebooks or print books. Now, again, tree diagram can kind of unmuddy the waters here a little bit as we can kind of split those up and put those percentages in as we go and then breed them together. This really kind of takes all that and makes some sense into the tree diagram as we go. So that's kind of a nice way of organizing it and seeing all those probabilities that we have there. So find the probability that the person reads more ebooks than print books. All right, well, there we go. Well, if we go there to the millennials, it's 20%, and then, if we go to Gen Xers, then it's 25%, and so on and so forth. We can kind of see how those go. And again, by multiplying those together, we can go 0.34 is that they're a millennial, and then 0.2. So again, we'd multiply those together, add that to 0.22 times 0.25, add that to 0.30 times 0.21, and then, of course, take 0.4 times 0.17, add those all together, and we get about 21% is what we get. So, yeah, kind of a big process there on how to do that. So, suppose the chosen person reads more ebooks than print books. What's the probability that he or she is a millennial? All right, well, looking at that, so the probability that they're millennial, given that they read more ebooks. So, what's the probability that they're millennial and read more ebooks? Well, again, you can kind of get that by taking the 0.068, and then we're going to divide that by what's the probability that they read more ebooks. Okay, reading more ebooks, we can just add up those from previous. So we get 0.32. So it gets pretty tricky there as we multiply those together. All right. Now, the multiplication rule for independent events basically is this. When events A and B are independent, the probability of B given A is the same as just the probability of B. Now, we can simplify that multiplication rule pretty good, that if they're independent events, and so finding the probability of A and B would simply just be taking the probability of A times the probability of B. All right, so that's basically what it is. That's for independent events now. Okay, now it's again only if it's independent. All right, so here we go. We got this problem. Many people who visit clinics to be tested for HIV, the virus that causes AIDS, don't come back to learn their test results. Clinics now use rapid HIV tests that give a result when the client waits. In a clinic in Malawi, for example, uses a rapid test, increase the percentage of clients who learn their test results from 69% to 99%. The trade-off for fast results is that rapid tests are less accurate than slower lab tests. Applied to people who have no HIV antibodies, one rapid test has a probability of about 0.004 producing a false positive. I mean, saying that, falsely indicating that antibodies are present. So not a big chance there. If a clinic tests 200 randomly selected people who are free of HIV antibodies, what is the probability that at least one false positive will occur? Now, assume that test results for different individuals are independent. Well, we're going to take the probability of no false positives And that's basically the probability that all 200 tests are negative. Well, again, if we take 1 minus 0.004, we're going to take 0.996 for each test. Each test is independent. So basically we would multiply that times itself 200 times. So basically take 0.996 raised to the 200th power. So there's a 44%, or almost 45%, I guess you should say, that we would get no false positives. So the probability that we get at least one false positive is 1 minus that, so about 55% is what we would get. Okay. All right, so again, learning this section, look at all the different things that we've done as far as conditional probabilities, determine if they're independent using the multiplication rule. We adopted that towards independent events as we go here, and then using tree diagrams. So that wraps things up for section 5.3 and chapter 5. All right, so we'll get some review, and then we'll get ready for our test. So until next time, I'm Mr. Boone.